Are you tired of looking at the same old ugly, graying, falling apart, warped, dirty case that's on your Game Boy Advance, but you love playing your Game Boy Advance? Who doesn't? This thing has a fantastic library. Well, today, on this episode of Dr. Mod's Lab, we're gonna show you exactly how to do that. Because the good folks over at the developer Strainus sent me a really awesome new shell for my old crusty Game Boy Advance. This one is promoting Cronelas Mansion, which is a brand new point-and-click action-adventure game that's coming out for the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Color, the Nintendo Switch, the Xbox, the PlayStation, and PC. Wow. And all those first ones that I said are all coming out on cartridge. So they sent over this copy of the game on Game Boy Advance so I could check it out. And they also sent me this awesome case here so I can play the game on this case. And if you know, I love point-and-click adventure games. Grew up playing tons of LucasArts, Sierra, all those things. So today Dr. Mod's here to show us exactly how to make this old crusty Game Boy Advance look beautiful. All right, so where do we start here?
So, you know, when you showed me the case they sent you, I said, oh, that's really cool. We got to put a modded Game Boy Advance in there.
Yeah.
But I did see that it looked like it was an original shell that they had, you know, done these graphics to, which they look amazing. So we had to do a little bit of cutting, got a little rotary tool and cut a little bit around the edges.
Because we're not going to take the old screen out of this one and put it in that one. While we're at it, Dr. Mod here is going to go ahead and put a brand new
IPS screen.
IPS display. So there we go. Are we ready to do this then? We ready to get into it?
Let's dig into it.
This is fun. This thing's gonna look beautiful when it's done because you brought some transparent green buttons and bumpers, which I'm really excited for. What do you say? Let's get into it.
First thing, we're gonna get this guy apart. To do that, we will need a small Phillips head screwdriver and a tri-wing driver as well. Let's get the battery cover off of this.
That is a crusty old, that's definitely a crusty one.
I mean, this is the kind of.
You know what else I noticed too is look at the front here. Like if you see in the glare, it's kind of bubbling up or something.
Yeah. Well,
right there,
you know,
see that?
Looks like some heat exposure maybe, you know, in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of bubbled up. And it's discolored here.
Yeah, it's definitely discolored heat.
But you know, honestly, this is the kind of Game Boy Advance I like to work on. Why? Yep. Because it's looking kind of sorry, and we're gonna make it look pretty again.
Don't throw them away.
So first thing you're gonna need is to use a Phillips head screwdriver and take this screw out of the battery compartment. Oh, look at that, that's nice. Okay,
oh, yeah.
Set that aside. Then next, we're gonna use a tri-wing driver for the other 6 screws. And then we're just gonna pull the back cover upward, and it's gonna come right apart.
Ta-da!
There we go.
There it is.
And
really the only part we're going to use.
3 more screws. Here, here, and here. Phillips head.
Phillips head. You know, on some of the other older console videos we've shot, we've talked about caps, the capacitors. These are capacitors here.
Yeah.
Right? If in case anybody wants to know. Have you seen these go bad at all?
In my personal experience, I haven't yet.
Okay, not yet.
Can it happen? Yes.
But this machine is definitely not as old. It still has at least a good 10 years before it catches up to the...
And the other thing I'd like to state is it has much fewer capacitors.
Yeah, for sure.
If I showed you a Game Gear, you'd be like, holy crap.
Yeah.
It's got tons of capacitors. This, just a few. So if we had to, it wouldn't be too bad. Just get the side pieces off and the shoulder buttons out of the way. And then the next thing we're gonna do, since we got all the screws out, is to now loosen the ribbon cable for the screen. So yeah, just pop those 2 tabs at the end upward, and then pull this guy out. And there we go.
There it is.
That's it. That's the motherboard.
Let's take a look at this thing here.
Yeah, with the membrane still attached. There we go.
Of course, every speaker has the crusty juices inside.
Now, a couple things I'd like to note. I noticed when I was using this that the start and select buttons were sticking or weren't registering until I pressed hard. Same thing with the B button. Well, now it makes sense. Look see we got quite a bit of debris there. We need to clean this up. Looks a little bit oxidized. Okay. Gonna need a Q-tip and some rubbing alcohol. We're gonna clean this up so it makes good contact with the new membranes.
All right.
Okay, so we're gonna clean this with some alcohol and use a high percentage alcohol when you're doing something like this because you don't want to leave residue on the board. And we're just going to clean the contacts here for the start and select buttons. Oh, look at that. See how clean that is? Look at that. It didn't take much effort, did it?
Boom.
Now let's get that B button. See that B button? That
Yeah.
looks kind of, that's looking a little crusty there. And we'll get this guy too. See how little effort that was to get it to look better. Good rule of thumb. Go ahead and do all the contacts. Here's a D-pad. Just want to make sure you have good contacts so you have good response when you press those buttons.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all set. Speakers tend to attract a lot of debris because, you know, the little holes on top of the shell. So I clean them with a little, you know, light brush. And then after that, all right. So next thing we're going to do, now we have everything apart, let's start to get things transferred to that nice, beautiful new shell.
All right.
So we'll start with the screen. I've already cut it to make it fit this new IPS screen. So we're going to insert the screen and we're going to pull the adhesive off here so it sticks. And I like to give it nice pressure on the edges to make sure that adhesive grabs well. Now that we have that done, we're going to need to solder a few points to the board. Solder them to these points here.
All right.
So I'm going to put a little bit of flux on the board here, and then we're going to need to solder to this point here. And this is for the screen brightness adjustment, so you can open it up with a button combination. This screen also has these touch pads that are also used to change the brightness settings, the pixel effect and such. And so now we got that, we're going to do the wires after we put our contact pads in. I'm going to decide where would you like me to put these for you, Chris, since this is going to be your personal GameBoy
Probably
Advance.
at the top.
About right here sound good, right by the Nintendo logo?
Yeah.
Let's do that. So we're going to peel the pads here off, and then we're going to place these pads on the side of the Nintendo logo, since we can actually see that from here because it's a translucent shell. I'm just trying to make it make contact, and then I will take a nice tool like this and flatten it out. Okay, so we have that in place. Now we're going to, this one will be a little bit easier. This one we're going to place right here.
Cool.
Let's peel that pad off. Grab your tweezers and move this guy right here. So it makes contact. And then grab a device like this and push it into the plastic. And that's our touchpad. So now when you need to adjust settings, you press it here and you press it here.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to solder those points.
All right.
So they give you 3 wires with this kit, and so we'll take those out, get those soldered. I'm going to tin up the spots that I'm going to solder to.
Soldering iron.
Great. Okay, so we're going to tin up. Yeah, soldering iron. There you go. So we got these parts soldered and we're tinned up. We got these parts tinned up. Now we're going to go here, tin up that area, and then we're going to add some more solder here to where we're going to put the new wires. And now we're going to solder our wires to the left and right shoulder buttons. And now that we got our wires soldered to the board, we're going to now solder those points to our new screen board. So select first, and then our right button, or right shoulder button, and then now our left shoulder button. Okay, that's all the soldering you have to do. And then now we're going to reposition this guy like so and start to put our buttons in. Those nice green buttons we got here.
Yeah.
Those are going to look good.
It's gonna look fantastic.
It's such an easy to open bag. Get our nice green buttons out here.
Jesus. Just rip the bag
I've
open.
had it. All right, we got our nice green buttons. First things first, so you don't forget it, put this little piece of plastic in. This is for your power light, so don't forget that. You're gonna put that there, and then we're gonna put our A and B buttons. Okay, now we're gonna put our A button in. We're gonna put our D-pad in. And then the rest we're gonna put in after we have our board in place. So now what we wanna do is put the rubber membranes in.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this guy in. We're gonna put our start and select buttons in, and then our D-pad. Now we got our rubber membranes in place. Now what we want to do is put our ribbon cable for our screen. So with a lot of these kits, you have a couple, different, there's 2 different Game Boy Advance models that have different ribbon cable size. And so there's the 32 pin like here, and then you got your 40 pin. This one is apparently a 40 pin. So we're going to be using this 40 pin one, okay? So we got to put this in here. When we have that all seated in place nicely, we close it. That little clip right there. I like to start to kind of pre-bend this down because it's going to loop around. Makes it easier to put in. And then we're going to bring this guy around and secure it. So we're going to put 3 more screws. So we got brand new screws that were included with the shell.
Yeah, not use the crusty old dirty ones.
And yeah, so we're going to use some brand new screws. Let's go ahead and put some of these on the table. You're going to use these smaller Phillips head screws. And we're going to put those here. Phillips head screwdriver. Tighten that down. And 2 more to go.
Gotta love the magnetic ones.
Yeah.
I think I still have that magnetic one.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll get this. It'll be okay. Okay, and then 1 more to go. Okay, and now that we have all the screws secured, let's put that ribbon cable for the screen in. Push that down and secure it. Things on the side. And there you go. That's all seated. And now we can start to put our other trim in place. So these 2 guys on the sides. You know what this is for, right? This little area here.
No.
It's where they used to have a little like wrist strap you could attach
to it.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Then your power button right here. Make sure that tab for the power switch is in the slots here, okay? Because if you don't do that and you tighten it, you could break that tab right off. Yeah. So we're gonna put our
Don't want to do that.
Nope. So we're gonna put our left buttons in, our right shoulder button in. Right shoulder button, please go in. Okay, now that we got our shoulder buttons in, we're gonna go ahead and put the rear case back on.
This awesome rear case with our little 16-bit characters from the game.
And then, what I like to do before I start tightening everything down is just test the shoulder buttons real quick, make sure they feel good. And then your buttons up here and everything before we close her up for good. Everything feels good. So these screws are gonna be longer and they're tri-wing. So we're going to start putting those in. I like to start with the middle ones first because it kind of holds everything in place well. I also like to use the correct screwdriver.
I was just going to say, is that the tri-wing?
There we go. And one of our last screws here are the tri-wing ones. And we're going to use a Phillips head. Last screw in the battery compartment.
Kind of interesting they decided to use a Phillips head for the 1 screw.
Yeah, I wondered that myself. Before we put this back together, we need 2 batteries for this thing.
2 batteries. Yeah. I got those. Ta-da!
Great.
That awesome battery cover on there. Look at that. What a pretty looking new shell.
All right, let's take this screen cover off.
Oh, one of my favorite things. All right, there's only one thing to do here. Of course, we're gonna pop the press demo copy of Cronelas Mansion into the brand new Cronelas Mansion Game Boy Advance that we have here. Thanks to my friends over at Strainus. Ooh, look at this. Look at that.
Wow, that's a nice looking cartridge. I love the hologram effect.
Yeah, that's cool.
Very
All right,
nice.
let's give this a whirl.
Love that sound.
That is a good. I mean, damn.
Nice looking shell.
Right.
I like it.
Yeah, that's a great looking shell. Wow, look at that. That is beautiful. The green was a great choice.
Thanks. Thought so.
All right, here we go. One last thing to do. There it is. Look at that. These are all the different devices that this thing is coming out on.
It's amazing.
Incredible. That's a beautiful display too.
Yeah.
Look at that thing.
Yeah, those new IPS screens are great.
This is amazing.
That speaker still sounds pretty darn good too.
I love pixel art so much.
It looks great.
So there you have it. We've gone from crusty old shell to brand new, beautiful looking custom shell for the brand new point and click adventure game, Cronelas Mansion, which actually has launched now on Kickstarter. So if you want to get a copy of this game, if this sort of thing interests you, which I highly recommend it because I've already played through the demo on a live stream and I loved it, go over to the Kickstarter now because if you don't know this, physical copies don't last very long. And it's coming out for the NES on cartridge, Game Boy Color on cartridge, Game Boy Advance on cartridge, all of those. And it's coming to the Switch, the PlayStation, the Xbox, and the PC, I think this summer. The demo is now available if you want to check it out. And I guess I'm gonna be laying in bed playing through this thing again, because this is beautiful. So don't forget to check out the link below if you want to know more about Cronelas Mansion. And there you go.
Another console saved.
And if you want to know how to beautify something like a PlayStation like this, you should check out this video right here where Dr. Mod did it a couple weeks ago. Follow along right here if you don't want to miss videos like this in the future. Until next time.
Let's clean up all this mess.
It's time.